Hey guys, it's Jackie from Jack Gets Lost on a Book Haul, and this is my third video I filmed today. I figured though, since I'm off, go ahead and film some videos. So I decided for this video I would do some tell you guys about some authors that I would like to read more from, or authors that I'm hoping will become favorites. Because some of the people on here are authors that I haven't read any of their books, but from what I've heard, I would probably love them, and I'm also very easy to please. So, and these aren't really in no particular order. Well, let me just go ahead and get the one out of the way that I don't have a copy of any of their books. And that is, I would like to read more from the Bronte sisters. I keep seeing Villette at the charity bookshop, but I always miss out on getting it because there's other books that I'm in the moment more interested in. Now, the problem is that, with charity bookshops, I feel like you have to buy it right then and there, or it might not be there the next time you go. Because, well, other people will buy the book. And these bookshops they might have one other copy, maybe two other copies at the most, but they won't have mass-produced copies of books, because they're donated books. So there's no guarantee that you'll get a whole bunch of copies of the same book. And even then, they don't put out that many copies. They'll put a few, maybe 3 at the most, copies of a book. But I've read Jane Eyre. I've read it twice now. I haven't read Wuthering Heights, but I do have the DVD of Wuthering Heights, or my parents do. I have most of the DVDs up here in my room, but I recently, I took a handful of them to put them downstairs. Actually, no, it might still be up there. I just haven't gotten around to watching it yet. But I definitely want to read more of their books. I love Jane Eyre. I've read it twice now, and I gave my copy to my cousin because I think she would really like it. I don't know if she ever got around to reading it, and I could be wrong. But, so yeah, but I don't have any of their books right now. It's so funny, this morning I had a double shot espresso. And, my cousin was pointing out how the double shot will, give you a buzz. But right now, I still feel tired. Because we went out for breakfast. And, of course, sometimes when you got breakfast, you want to get up early. So I didn't even, okay, so I got that one out of the way. Because, unfortunately, I don't have any copies to show you guys. But I do want to read more of their books. And I hear constantly about Wuthering Heights, how great it is, and how it's, even though the relationship, it's not a romance, the relationship in that is so messed up, and the people in there are horrible people. But I have no problem reading books about horrible, unlikable characters. Okay, so now we're back to being in order. And the first book, let's see if I can find it without ruining my pile. I have these books kind of stacked, that I would like to read more from is Donna Tartt. I know she only has 3 books out right now, and I've already read The Secret History, which I loved. I absolutely love the writing style. I love the characters. They were all so fascinating, such fascinating people, and that is a book full of unlikable characters. Those people are horrible, and they make the dumbest decisions ever, but it was so fascinating to read about those people, about those characters, and explore them through our protagonists. And now I want to read this one, The Goldfinch. Now, it's funny enough, I hear that either you love The Secret History or you love this one, and you hate the other one. But as I've said before, I am an easy-to-please reader, so I would probably love both books. It would have to take a lot for me to not love a book. But yes, I want to read this one, and I want to read her other book. I know she has a 3rd one. I don't know what the other one is. This is a pretty, unfortunately, this is, is there a receipt in there? There it is. I don't know what the heck this is. Oh. So I guess this was someone who did, maybe they used this as a bookmark or something. Like this particular book is from the used bookstore, so it has this weird little piece of paper, like, but it looks like a receipt or something. Or, oh, but it's from like a fishing hunting store in Oregon. Fish and wildlife store, so maybe the person who read this was in that place where they have someone that was there, and it's funny. But yeah, I definitely want to read because I love her, like I said, I love her writing style, and The Secret History was such an interesting story. And again, you can tell me that, oh, you won't like The Goldfinch, but if you love The Secret History, in truth, I am an easy to please reader, so I'll probably love it no matter what. I definitely want to read more of her books. Okay, so next I have is I want to read more Steinbeck. I've only read Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, but that was years ago, and I definitely want to reread it again. So, because now that I'm older, I think I can appreciate this more. But I am currently in the middle of East of Eden, and I am enjoying it. It's definitely a really interesting story. But again, a story like this, with this length, if you watch my video on my struggles with big books, books like this length take me so long to read because I take so many breaks in between, because then I get restless and I just have to read something else, something that's a little more lighthearted and fun and exciting throughout the whole book. You know, like this one, for instance, I'm reading Kiss of Deception right now, and it's definitely more exciting and more than something like this. So, but I really like it. I enjoy when I'm reading it. I want to give Steinbeck, I want to really get into him now that I'm older. Because at the time when I read Of Mice and Men, I felt like I couldn't appreciate it back then. And now I think as an adult, I think I could appreciate it more. And I do, like I said, I've enjoyed what I read so far of Steinbeck, of this one, of East of Eden. I want to keep continuing, and I love that the print is big. It's not minuscule. I mean, it's not huge, but it's not minuscule. It definitely makes it easier to read. So I think I'm at the halfway point in this book. So, but yeah, I want to read more Steinbeck. I also have this collection of Steinbeck. It's his more shorter novels. Of Mice and Men is in here, as well as The Pearl is in here. This is all his short novels. The Red Pony, Canary Row, The Moon is Down, Tortilla Flat, and then, like I said, Of Mice and Men and The Pearl are in here as well. So I want to read his short fiction as well. His short novels. So yeah, I want to read more Steinbeck. Let's see. And then I want to read more Fitzgerald. The Great Gatsby is one of my favorite modern classics. So I definitely want to read more of his other books. This is two of his, I guess, his shorter novels. This Side of Paradise and The Last Tycoon. And I have a collection of his short stories as well, like Bernice Bobs Her Hair is in that one, and so is The Curious Case of Benjamin Button is in that one. So I want to read more Steinbeck. I mean, more Fitzgerald. I think I love his writing. I love his 1920s setting. I think it's really interesting, and he also seems like an interesting person too. Him and Steinbeck were probably, well, actually no, it's not him. It's Hemingway. It's Hemingway that seemed like a very interesting guy. Because I actually read a fictionalized account of Hemingway's first wife, called The Paris Wife, which that was really interesting. It's like, it's telling the story of her marriage to him and how it kind of fell apart, but how she was completely devoted to him. But anyway, but the problem with Hemingway is he writes stuff that I'm not necessarily into, like fishing and stuff like that. It's just not my thing. I mean, not that he just writes about that, but I don't know though. I might check Hemingway out one day, but I want to read Fitzgerald. I definitely want to read more Fitzgerald. I think he's a very fascinating writer, and so far I really like his stories. Okay, so the next author I want to read more from is Dickens. Now, like my Steinbeck, and then I also have Jane Austen over here. I have actually a collection of some of his novels in a big bind up, like the Steinbeck one. But I'm showing you this one because I don't want to pick that one up and put that one on camera. It's too, I'm being lazy here. So I'm showing you guys one that I've already read, and one of my favorites so far. Of course, I've only read two, so I feel like I couldn't really say that. Like, I've read A Christmas Carol, and then I've read A Tale of Two Cities. And I definitely want to reread this again. I think I like Dickens. His writing style is very hard to get into, and I also don't like his female characters, or at least I did not like his main female character in this book. She got on my nerves, and I feel like she was very naive, and a part of me wanted her to choose a certain character, but I knew it wasn't gonna happen, and he's just not her taste. But unfortunately, back then women were probably a lot like this character, this female character, and she's very sweet and loving, devoted to her father. She kind of reminded me of Melanie Wilkes from Gone with the Wind, a character that's really sweet and nice and everything, but you just at the same time you're like, they're sickeningly sweet, and it's annoying, and I feel very two-dimensional. But this novel was written a long time ago. Now, in the case of Gone with the Wind, the main character, you can't have, they wanted Melanie in Gone with the Wind to contrast with our main character, Scarlett, so that was the way Margaret Mitchell showed her contrasting with Scarlett's over the, larger-than-life personality. So I think that's why Melanie Wilkes was so completely... And plus, of course, it was written a long time ago in the 1800s, so women were kind of suppressed back in that day. But, I love this book, and I definitely want to read more. Oh, this is actually a book that I did a kind of book report for in college, like an essay or something. And I noticed I underlined a lot of stuff, a lot of sentences. I don't know if there were anything interesting. But yeah, I want to reread this one. But I want to read a lot more of Dickens. I think Dickens is such a great author. I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, and sometimes, you have to put 100% devoted attention onto Dickens, I feel like, when you're reading his books. Okay, next author I want to talk about is V. Schwab, or Victoria Schwab. Victoria is what she goes by when she's writing her YA fiction, and V. Schwab is when she's writing her adult fiction. So far, I've only read her adult stuff. I do want to read This Savage Song by her, but I haven't got around to getting it yet. But I've read Vicious, and I've read the first two books in the Shades of Magic trilogy, and I definitely want to get more into her books. This is A Conjuring of Light, actually the last book in the Shades of Magic trilogy, although she is writing more, but I think it's from a different character's perspective. It's like she's kind of doing what Sarah J. Maas is doing, which, by the way, she's on this list as well, Sarah J. Maas. But yeah, I want to read more. I wonder who this is, though. Is this Rye, or is this, maybe Holland? Yeah, this might be Holland, I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, I love these covers. I think they're really cool. But yeah, I want to read more V. Schwab books. Like I said, I want to read her, sorry, I got caught up in reading what the summary said in the back flap. But I want to read more of her, like I said, I want to read some of her YA novels. I want to read her archive series. But but there are so many books, it's so hard to keep up with these authors and other booktubers, because not that it's a competition, but you want to read all the books that they brought up as well, that they talk about how great they are, so it's like, I have to read this, and I just work at a grocery store, so I don't have the money, I can't do these huge book hauls of 10 books, I mean, I actually had a dream last night that we went to a bookstore of some kind. I don't know if it was Books A Million, but it kind of looked like a warehouse. So it might have been like a used bookstore, like the one the chair or the what is it called? The thrift store. It reminded me of that, the one we went to when we were visiting my sister, one of the visits, and I bought a whole bunch of books, and I was all set to put some of them back, but my dad in the dream was all like, screw it, I don't want to waste my time waiting for you to narrow these down, so you can go ahead and buy all of them. But I know in real life, my dad would never do that. My dad would never he was the one who first brought up that I have a problem, and that every time I go to the bookstore, I always buy a book, and I don't have to do that. Just because I'm at a bookstore doesn't mean I have to buy a book. So I know that he would never let me buy, no matter how impatient he would get, he would never let me buy, a whole bunch of books. But there were all these books that, something like, The Cruel Prince and stuff like that, where, all the books that I keep hearing about all the time, and I'm thinking about buying them and reading them. It was really funny. It was a very funny dream. But yeah, so V. Schwab is another author I want to read more of her books from. She has a lot of good books. A lot of people love her, and so far from what I read of her adult books, I love her too. And again, I want to read more of her books. But at first, I'm going to get through this series, and then I'll buy some of her other ones as well. Okay, so next. This is an author I have not read. I have not read any of the books yet, but I want to, and I'm hoping that this will become a fan favorite author. And that is Neil Gaiman, and this is his American God book. This one I saw at BJ's, and BJ's prices are the prices of books are decent, but it's a small collection of books. It's not a bookstore. So the collection of books that they do have is very small, but I saw this one there and I had to buy it. This is the TV show tie-in edition. Who's the guy? Who's the actor? I have to look it up because I always thought it was. But anyway. Yeah, I'm hoping that Neil Gaiman would become a fan favorite author. I want to read more of his books. I am definitely kind of one of those readers that's kind of somewhere in between the light, fluffy fantasies or the light, fluffy stories to the gritty stories. And I think this is a little more gritty in the fantasy department, but I'm also a little picky. But yeah, I'm hoping that Neil Gaiman will become an author, a fan favorite author. I want to read more of his books. And for now, and I am starting with this one, which some people probably would not recommend starting with this one, I imagine. But you know what? I like to go my own way. So, okay, next. Oh, I forgot. I skipped one. Right before that, when I wrote these out, I said, I want to read, this is another one author that I've only read, I haven't read really anything of hers yet. I did start, with American Gods, I did start reading her book, the first book of hers I got, and that is The Paying Guest. And again, this is set in the 1920s, and I've said I love the 20s. And I've been hearing a lot of a lot about her from a lot of booktubers that I really like, and they've been recommending her, and I saw this at the used bookstore, so I went ahead and bought it. So I'm hoping that, again, she will become another author that will become a favorite. And the little bit I've read so far is definitely really interesting. I like her writing style so far, and yeah, so I want to read more from Sarah Waters. And I want to read some Sarah Waters, and hopefully she will become a favorite author of mine. Like I said, this is also a cross between favorite authors I want to read more from, and then authors that I haven't started, but I would like to, and I'm hoping they will become favorite authors. So this is kind of like the whole your top 5 prediction videos. Or scratch that. This is kind of like those videos where people make their predictions of which books that they'll give 5 stars. Well, I'm predicting that some of these authors will be authors that are fan favorites, like Neil Gaiman and Sarah Waters. I'm predicting they will be my favorites. Okay, so next I have Leigh Bardugo, and I've already read her Grisha trilogy, which I did really enjoy. I did like that one. It's not my favorite, but I did like it, and I definitely want to read more from her. And I read Six of Crows last fall, I think. So now I've already started Cricket Kingdom, but I've taken a break from it. So but I definitely want to keep reading, and I want to read her Wonder Woman novel, which I haven't got around to buying. I want to read, I know she's writing a Nikolai book, a book about the character Nikolai, who happens to be one of my favorite characters from the original Grisha trilogy. I know there's The Language of Thorns, which is a book about the fairy tales that the people of this world would read. They're kind of like the Grimm's Brothers or Hans Christian Andersen's type stories. So I want to read this one, and I want to read. I'm hoping that she'll write something else outside the Grisha world. I mean, she has written the Wonder Woman story, so I will get that at some point. But yeah, I want to read more Leigh Bardugo. I think she is a very interesting author, and I really get into her books. Isn't this beautiful? I love these red painted edges of these. I think it's so cool the way this book looks. So I'm glad there's I had to get the paperback. I mean the hardback edition. Like the paperback wasn't available in the States. I don't know if it's a paperback and right now though it might be, but I'm glad I got the hardback because of these painted edges. I think that's really cool. Okay, so the next author that I want to read more from that I've already read, and she has a new book coming out. Although I've read most of her books, that are all of her books that are out, and she has a new one coming out soon. But I went ahead and put her on here as an author, because these last few authors are authors that I've read, 3 of these authors are authors that I read a lot of their books already, or 4, and counting Kate Morton. I've read quite a few of their books, but I want to read more from them. I want to get more into their work. And that is Kate Morton. Like I said, that's Kate Morton. This is The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton. It was the first one I ever read. And as of right now, it's still my favorite, but I'm going to reread it soon at some point. But first I'm going to read The Secret Keeper. She's a historical fiction author that goes back and forth between the past and the present. And I love her writing, and you just fall into these stories, and it's so easy to picture what's going on, and just to get into these beautiful, whimsical tales, that are all about the past and how it affects the present. So yeah, I'm going to continue reading Kate Morton. I cannot wait until her next book gets published, which I believe will be this year. Will be coming out soon, this year. Next is, that I want to read more from, is Stephen King. I love Stephen King. I definitely want to read more horror novels, and I have quite a handful of his books. This is The Shining. I just bought and as you can see, I already, again, this is another book that I've already started reading. I'm on chapter 6, and this is just, I've heard a lot of mixed reviews on this book. Like, some people prefer the Stanley Kubrick movie, which, ironically enough, Stephen King did not like Stephen Kubrick's interpretation of his novel, and he ended up making a mini-series of how it should have gone. Like, he didn't like the casting of Jack Nicholson. He felt like Jack Nicholson did not fit the part. Which I know some people, people say that, well, he's scary and, so it'd be perfect and everything. But Stephen King wanted, from what I've heard, he wanted someone that looks normal and looks like a nice guy, so that the whole him going crazy is a bit of a surprise. And unexpected, but I wanted to, I've never seen the movie. I mean, I've seen bits and pieces of the movie, but I'm wondering if this is, like, from the perspective of the little boy in the story, the way the door is, it's kind of, it's like you're looking up. So I'm wondering if we're looking through the eyes of Danny, the little boy. But yeah, definitely, I do want to read more Stephen King. And like I said, I have the first 5 books in the Dark Tower series. I have It, which I'm in the middle of. I've already read it once. This is my second time reading it. And I have Salem's Lot, which was one of my first Stephen King's. Which is one of his vampire stories. That wasn't technically Stephen King, but the book that Ridley Pearson, I think it was Ridley Pearson who wrote it for Stephen King, that's connected to his miniseries, Rose Red, which is one of my favorite haunted house stories ever. I have, 4 Past Midnight, one of his many collections of short stories. And I have The Talisman, which is more of a fantasy. Oh, and I have The Eyes of the Dragon, which I started that one as well. Because I'm weird, like, I'll just have these moods where I want to start a book, but then I don't come back to it for a long time. So I have quite a few books with bookmarks in the books, and I haven't gotten very far, including this one. But yeah, I definitely want to read more Stephen King, and I want to keep buying more of his books. Oh, and I've also read Carrie, but I gave that to my friend, because she's trying to get more into, like, for the longest time she was only reading, like, Ellen Hopkins, I think, which, from what I hear, she's good. So she's been wanting to branch out a little bit. Of course, she hasn't had time because she decided to go back to school and take a couple new classes and expand her education a little bit. So she hasn't had time to read some of the books like Carrie. Okay, so next is another author that I've read quite a lot of their books already, and that is, is Sarah J. Maas. I love her books so far, and I do want to read her Catwoman book when that comes out. Has that already come out? I don't know. But I really love Throne of Glass. I have a lot of feels for this series, and sometimes I don't always agree with some of the choices she makes. And I know there are her issues, like she's not very good with diversity. And diversity in books is very important because everyone wants to relate to the characters. And you just gotta show, in the real world is not all a bunch of white people that are perfectly healthy. And it has, there's black people, there's people who have disabilities, there's people that are Native American, there's people that are Middle Eastern, there's a lot of variety in the world. I mean, and so I get it that there's definitely a lack of diversity in her books. And not everybody likes the direction her books went in the later books. Some people prefer the first couple books in this particular series. And the protagonist is a bit of an arrogant, cocky character that sometimes just, you want to smack her at times. But other times you love her, and she's so badass and so cool and everything. And I love these covers. Look at these covers. They're so cool and so beautiful. So I get why people don't like her. I mean, I don't like her sometimes. But yeah, I did. But either way, I want to read more of Sarah J. Maas. I've already read ACOTAR, the first 3 books. I know the novella's coming out, and Tower of Dawn, the 6th book in the series, came out, so I want to get that one. And that is actually on my birthday list. My birthday is this Thursday, and I still will make lists because my family doesn't always know my family and friends don't always know what I want for my birthday, so I will make a list. Okay, I gotta hurry up because this video is getting too long, and I might have to redo this video anyway, so it might not matter. Okay, so let me just go ahead, and the next one is, I want to read more of Marissa Mayer. I love her books. I love these worlds that she's created. I read Heartless. I have not read Renegades yet, but I do want to read Renegades, and of course I've read the whole Lunar Chronicles, and I'm rereading it again, obviously. I'm on chapter 8 of Winter. Ooh, uh-oh, it's tearing at the bottom. So I want to read this one. I think, I love this whole sci-fi take on retellings of fairy tales. I think that's really cool. Like I said, I haven't read the Renegades, but I want to read that one. I really get into her books. I love her writing, and yeah, so I want to read her as well. More of her. And then the last 2 authors I want to read for, I want to read more Amy Tan. I've already read this is The Kitchen God's Wife. I've already read The Joy Luck Club. I remember really enjoying that movie, so I finally got around to reading the book. I did enjoy it, although I admit I did not cry in that book. There is cry-worthy moments in that book, but I feel like horrible because I did not cry. But in my defense, I would probably cry in the movie. But I want to read this one. But I haven't been in the mood lately, but I need to get in the mood soon because this is my sister's book. And I'll have to give it back to her soon. Okay, so yeah, I want to read more of Amy Tan. She's an author who writes, about the Chinese culture and families from China and stuff like that. And then the last person I want to talk about is Jane Austen. I love Jane Austen. I want to read more of her books. I think she's such, I don't love her as much as some people do. Like, in fact, I didn't like Sense and Sensibility. I thought Pride and Prejudice was really good. It's not my all-time favorite book. In fact, I prefer North and South, which, funnily enough, I'm going by the miniseries when it comes to North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. But that one, North and South, is very similar to Pride and Prejudice. And like I said, I prefer the miniseries. I prefer that story, going by the miniseries. But I still really like Pride and Prejudice, and I want to read more of her other novels. And as you can see, I have this whole collection of all her work, because unfortunately she didn't write that many books. She wrote, I think 6 or 7 novels. So I want to read more of her work. And it's funny how famous she has gotten, and how back then people were like, you can't be an author, you can't be a writer. Because you're a woman, and your job is just to get married and have kids and take care of the household. But she proved them all wrong, and now she's one of the most famous authors in literature. So, yeah, I want to get that one. I want to read more of her. So, that is it. Those are all the authors I would like to read more from, or authors that I want to get into that I'm hoping will become favorites of mine. What are some of your authors that you absolutely love and want to read more from, or authors that you are just starting to get into and you are hoping that they will become favorites? Click subscribe if you like this. If you haven't already, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And love to all the people that are already subscribed to me. And enjoy your reading. Alright, bye.